Fissures in India bloc deepens. Congress blames EVMs for Haryana and Maharashtra polls.
After a few bits of good news during the Lok Sabha election, it looks like the India alliance is breaking apart from within over the issue of EVMs and the Congress's continuing implosion. I'm going to tell you more about that here on 5 Live. Thanks for being with me. I'm Shiv. The Congress party, a principal member of the India alliance, a leader really of the India alliance, finds itself increasingly isolated within the opposition bloc over its insistence on raising doubts about the reliability of electronic voting machines or EVMs after nearly every single election. And now it finds itself publicly at the receiving end of ridicule, not by the BJP, but by its very own alliance partners. Omar Abdullah of the National Conference and Abhishek Banerjee of the Trinamool Congress are the two latest prominent India alliance netas who've publicly expressed open irritation with what they see as the Congress's attempt to deflect responsibility for its electoral failures by perpetuating the EVMs are hacked narrative. The India alliance, conceived as a unified opposition front to challenge the BJP in 2024, has prided itself on showcasing a cohesive strategy. But all of that appears to be coming undone. This veneer of unity has been disrupted by the Congress's dogged focus on EVMs, which has irked several partners who perceive this as a diversionary tactic. Omar Abdullah, with barely concealed annoyance in an interview, points out that blaming EVMs every time the Congress performs poorly not only undermines the alliance's credibility, but also distracts from the larger goal of addressing issues such as unemployment, inflation, and issues of governance. Now, Omar Abdullah has a solid local stand-by for his irritation. He won the J&K election handsomely recently, but was denied an alliance landslide thanks to the dead weight of the Congress totally messing things up in Jammu. Similarly, the Trinamool Congress under Mamata Banerjee has made no secret of its frustration. Trinamool leaders view the Congress's approach as an unwillingness to confront its deeper structural challenges, such as organizational stagnation and poor grassroots connect. You have Trinamool leaders openly now saying things like, every election cannot be blamed on EVMs. This fixation is damaging our collective efforts to present a credible alternative to the BJP. Even Abhishek Banerjee has let his annoyance show in public by chastising the grand old party today and asking them to prove to the Election Commission that EVMs can be hacked and that nothing can be done by just making random statements. Think about those two words, random statements. That is harsh language for one ally to use for another, especially when this EVM bogey has been commissioned and perpetuated by the very top of the Congress party, including Rahul Gandhi himself. Omar and Abhishek's annoyance represents an aggravated fatigue with the Congress party that expects to be treated as the boss of the India alliance and yet has only proved to be a damaging drag since the Lok Sabha election. With the decimations in Haryana and Maharashtra, both elections that the Congress was expected to either win or perform very well in, the India allies are now of the firm view that the Congress, which managed its 99 seats in the Lok Sabha, partly riding on the Samajwadi Party's ground game, has completely destroyed any sense of momentum that the alliance as a whole enjoyed after June. And that the Congress, by wasting precious time being entitled, bickering over who will be CM, etc., rather than building upward, has ruined not just itself, but the India alliance's chances of being more of a headache to Modi's BJP. But annoyance and irritation aside, it's also clear, viewer, that the Congress's renewed focus on EVMs is less about technology and more about intra-alliance politics within the India alliance. The Congress is aware that its performances in the Haryana and Maharashtra elections are deeply under scrutiny, and murmurs within the alliance suggest that these results could be used as a pretext to recalibrate the leadership structure of the India alliance. It's happening not even in a subtle manner, it's happening openly now. Parties such as the Aam Aadmi Party and Trinamool have grown increasingly assertive in questioning the Congress's claim to being the natural leader of this opposition bloc. By amplifying the EVM's hacked narrative, the Congress appears to be preemptively shielding itself from criticism, framing its potential losses as the result of systemic manipulation rather than its own very real organizational decay. This narrative also conveniently sidesteps the question of accountability for the Congress's inability to reverse years of decline, even in states where the BJP's incumbency should have made elections much more competitive than they were. The underlying tensions within the India alliance point to a growing belief among some partners that the Congress's dominance within the coalition may no longer be justified. With regional parties like the Trinamool, the Aam Aadmi Party, and even the DMK demonstrating much stronger grassroots connect and electoral resilience, there is a sense that the Congress is simply failing to pull its weight anymore. A string of poor performances, including in Jammu and Kashmir and also in Jharkhand and also in the upcoming elections, could embolden these parties to demand a greater say in alliance decision-making, potentially cutting the Congress down to size. The Congress's isolation on the EVM issue underscores a deeper challenge for the India alliance, the need to balance the ambitions of its diverse constituents while presenting a united front against a BJP that is doing nothing but building on its dramatic strengths this year. As frustration within the Congress mounts, alliance partners may increasingly push for a more decentralized leadership structure, one that reflects the realities of regional power dynamics rather than the Congress's historical dominance. For now, the Congress's insistence on raising the EVM bogey risks alienating key allies and detracting from the alliance's broader message. If the party cannot move beyond these tactics and address its internal weaknesses, it may find itself not only isolated within the India alliance, but also sidelined in the much bigger battles that lie ahead.
Divide within the opposition India bloc comes to the fore once again. Congress ally and Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Omar Abdullah has dismissed the Congress' vehement objections to the electronic voting machine.
EVMs can't only be a problem when you lose the election because they're the same EVMs. So when you get 100+ members of parliament using the same EVMs and you celebrate that as sort of a victory for your party, you can't then a few months later turn around and say, well, actually, hang on, we don't like these EVMs because now the election results aren't going the way we would like them to.
The TMC also echoed Omar Abdullah's view on the EVMs.
जो लोग ईवीएम पे सवाल उठा रहे हैं, अगर उनके पास कुछ है तो इलेक्शन कमीशन को जाके वो डेमो दिखानी चाहिए कि भाई हमारे पास ये वीडियो है, क्योंकि इलेक्शन कमीशन ने वो सबको बुलाया था. मुझे नहीं लगता है कि ये जो एलिगेशन है इसमें कोई सब्सटेंस है.
The endorsement of EVMs by the Congress allies became ammunition for the BJP.
इंडी गठबंधन के लोग जब कांग्रेस को ये चीज कहते हैं, दे शुड ट्राई टू रियलाइज इट. मुझे लगता है हम जब बोलते हैं उसको तो समझ में नहीं आता है. अभी तो इनका अलाइज ही बोल रहे हैं. एटलीस्ट नाउ दे शुड अंडरस्टैंड, दे शुड रियलाइज. राहुल गांधी जैसे नेतृत्व को लेके वो नहीं चल पाएंगे.
The Congress and its allies in Maharashtra, who suffered a huge blow in the recent assembly elections, are firm in their opposition to the EVM.
हमारी जो गठबंधन है, इंडिया गठबंधन है, एनडीए गठबंधन नहीं है. जहाँ पे मोदी जी कहे हाँ तो हम कहें हाँ, वो कहे ना तो हम कहें ना, वो कहे एक कदम आगे बढ़ो तो एक कदम आगे हम बढ़े. हम सब अपनी अपनी विचारधाराओं से आते हैं, संविधान और प्रजातंत्र को बचाने के लिए आते हैं.
अमेरिका जैसा लोकतांत्रिक देश, ब्रिटेन जैसा लोकतंत्र नहीं विश्वास करता ईवीएम पे. बहुत से यूरोप के दोस्त हैं, जो देश हैं जो नहीं विश्वास करते. तो चुनाव होना ही नहीं चाहिए निष्पक्ष, दिखना भी चाहिए कि निष्पक्ष हुआ. अगर सबसे बड़ा विरोधी दल देश का मांग रहा है तो चुनाव में क्या दिक्कत है? आप कराइए बैलेट पेपर से.
The opposition alliance in Maharashtra has alleged irregularities in the election process. The election commission insists that the mandatory VVPAT tallying was found to be accurate and rejected charges of EVM manipulation. Bureau Report, India Today.
And the annoyance of Abhishek Banerjee and Omar Abdullah is especially stinging because the EVM bogey is being perpetuated, like I said, by the very top, the creamy layer of the Congress party, the first family and the organizational leadership. Take a look at Priyanka Gandhi and party president Mallikarjun Kharge.
मेरे सत्ता पक्ष के साथी आज खड़े हुए और तमाम गिनती करने लग गए कि ऐसा हुआ वैसा हुआ 1975 में जो हुआ तो सीख लीजिए ना आप भी सीख लीजिए आप भी अपनी गलतियों के लिए माफी मांग लीजिए आप भी बैलेट पे चुनाव कर लीजिए आप भी बैलेट पे चुनाव कर लीजिए दूध का दूध पानी का पानी हो जाएगा।
अरे हमारा सब जितनी भी शक्ति लगा के SC, ST, OBC, गरीब तबके के लोग, छोटे कम्युनिटी के लोग, ये लोग जो अपना वोट दे रहे हैं, वो वोट फुजूल जा रहा है। नहीं वो EVM छोड़ दो, हमको EVM, PVM कुछ नहीं, हमको होना बैलेट पेपर पे वोट बस, हमको बस पेपर पे करो और आपको मालूम होगा उस वक्त तुम्हारी हालत क्या है, कहां खड़े हो उस वक्त आपको मालूम होगा।
It's incredible how campaigns like India Wants Mamata Di are being perpetuated in public by the Trinamool party, the Trinamool Congress. This particular image which says India Wants Mamata Di, which purports to be by a Mamata fan website on social media, has been shared by Trinamool MP Mahua Maitra. Many such statements are being put out in public, and this is only but one example of how an open call for a change in the India Alliance's leadership is being talked about in public with total disregard for what the Congress has to say. And the Congress has been maintaining a totally studied silence, because according to our political team, Rahul Gandhi and the First Family have sent out word to the rank and file not to react to these provocative comments coming in from India Alliance members saying we would rather have Mamata Banerjee leading the charge of the India Alliance. The Congress feels trapped, it feels vulnerable at this point of time, and therefore it is wondering what really needs to be done. Remember that the next election coming up that will involve a potential India Alliance fight is the Delhi election. Arvind Kejriwal has already taken a very, very stern stance and said there is no question of any alliance with the Congress party, even though, as per some reports in the papers today, the Congress is even prepared to accept a single-digit number of seats if an alliance structure presents itself with the Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi. Now, just take a look as we summarize the BJP versus the Congress over this issue of EVMs. It's the central issue that the Congress has been raising. The BJP's charge is that the Congress blames EVMs after every election loss, but doesn't say anything about EVMs when elections go in their favor. The Congress's counter is Advani also had a problem with EVMs. The BJP's charge, EVMs is good when the Congress wins. The Congress has never said anything about EVMs in Jharkhand, in Jammu and Kashmir, in Karnataka, in Himachal Pradesh, but it has, of course, saying a lot about EVMs when it comes to Maharashtra and Haryana. The Congress's counter, what is wrong in using paper ballots? So this is becoming a rising crescendo within the Congress party over the fact that they believe that democracy is being manipulated, the election process is being manipulated, EVMs are unreliable, and all of this in order to fill the vacuum of simply refusing to be accountable for their own electoral failures. Omar Abdullah and Abhishek Banerjee are only the two latest leaders. If you look at the India Alliance structure right now, viewer, it is very clear that apart from the Congress party, virtually every other alliance member right now, virtually every other alliance member in the India Alliance now is unanimous that there needs to be a leadership change, and most of them are taking Mamata Banerjee's name. Will that actually mean something? We don't know just yet, but we'll keep a very close watch on it. All right, now moving on to another story that has entered the political headlights today. In a letter to Congress leader Rahul Gandhi, the Prime Minister's museum and library has dropped a bombshell. In the letter, Rahul Gandhi has been urged to return his great-grandfather Jawaharlal Nehru's personal letters, which were allegedly taken by Rahul's mother Sonia Gandhi during the UPA regime. But what is this controversy all about? Why are we talking about Nehru's letters? Who were these letters addressed to, and why has it become such a controversy? Take a look at this report.
It's the BJP versus Congress once again, this time over letters belonging to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. The Prime Minister's museum and library has formally requested the return of Nehru's personal papers, which were given to Congress leader Sonia Gandhi in 2008 during the UPA regime. In a letter dated December 10, the Prime Minister Museum and Library member and historian Rizwan Qadri wrote to Leader of Opposition in Lok Sabha Rahul Gandhi, urging him to retrieve the original letters from Sonia Gandhi. This after a similar request was made to Sonia Gandhi earlier in September. Qadri's letter says that Pandit Nehru's papers that were given to the museum in 1971 were taken back by Sonia Gandhi in 2008. These include letters from Pandit Nehru to Edwina Mountbatten, Jai Prakash Narayan, Babu Jagjeevan Ram, Albert Einstein, amongst others. Qadri also says making the letters accessible will benefit scholars and researchers, and that digital copies could be made of the same.
ये राष्ट्र के लिए जरूरी है। ये शोध संस्था है, शोध संस्था की शोभा उसके रिसर्च मटेरियल से होती है। ये राष्ट्र की धरोहर है, ये रिसर्च मटेरियल बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट हैगा, जिससे जो मिसिंग लिंक्स है खास करके फ्रीडम मूवमेंट की वो जुड़ सके और एकदम क्लियर हो सके।
The BJP latched onto the issue, questioning the Gandhi family's motive behind keeping the former Prime Minister's letters.
हम भी ये डिमांड करते हैं, जब से ये दस्तावेज अखबारों में छपा है, कि देश के इस ऐतिहासिक धरोहर को तुरंत सोनिया जी वापस करे और इसकी जांच भी होनी चाहिए, जो आज हमने पार्लियामेंट में भी रखा है, कि आखिर कितनी चिट्ठियां गई थी, उतनी ही चिट्ठियां वापस आई कि नहीं आई।
The Congress accused the BJP of trying to defame Pandit Nehru.
We all know that Nehru letters must be with the Nehru family only. It should not be with the Godse family. Godse family and Godse Wad always wants to defame Nehru. We all know that they had been doing it for 70-75 years continuously, but they are not able to succeed.
BJP has asked question as to why these letters were withdrawn at the orders of Sonia Gandhi, and they're also saying what's wrong in seeking the return of these letters. On the other side, the Congress party is saying that the documents of Nehru will always remain with the family of Nehru Gandhi, not with the family of Godse. With Mridula, I'm Piyush Mishra in Delhi for India Today.
And joining me live for a perspective on this and our previous story, Rashid Kidwai is a well-known author, political analyst, and a long-time chronicler of politics in India, including the Congress First Family. Rashid, welcome. Thank you for your time. I did want to ask you, Rashid, about your excellent column in the Tribune today, and I'm going to come to that in just a moment, because that was the topic of the first half of my show. But while we were waiting for you, I did show our viewers the story about the Nehru letters politics that has just exploded. So I just quickly wanted to get your take on that. How are you seeing this? Why are we talking about Nehru's letters? Where has this letter come from the Prime Minister's museum? Is there potential for embarrassment here? How do you see this, Rashid?
So I think a lot of it has got to do with the, propriety of it. Whether these letters that we are talking about, which are missing, were they sort of donated, catalogued, and then taken away? If that has happened, then it is, of course, so to say, a serious matter, both in terms of, intellectual property and the kind of, Nehru's desire or Indira Gandhi's own desire. If they were not, catalogued, if they would not sort of become a property of Nehru Memorial, Library and Center at that point of time, then it's, if it is, the family has sort of some legal right, then they are within their, rights to withhold it on grounds of privacy or any other thing. Because remember, it was Nehru's letters, it went to Indira Gandhi, then Rajiv Gandhi, then Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi. So there are certain gray areas are there. What we are seeing, Shiv, is a political controversy. Yeah. People are, shooting in the dark. The Congress, I just heard the Congress spokesman making a distinction between, Nehru family and Godse family. This is this is smart talk. This is not, qualified this thing. Nehru, belong to the nation, if not to the entire world. His letters have a huge, tremendous, archival value, historical value, academic value. But you cannot force a family. If suppose your family has certain, letters that have, written by some well-known persons or themselves, great importance, it's entirely up to you. Ideally, you should, give it, or you should make public, you should provide access to, the academicians, etc. If you don't, then you cannot be hauled up. You cannot be dragged to court of law. Yeah. So therefore, I'm saying there's a lot of gray area and we do not know full facts.
So do you feel in that case that this is not a kind of technical due process type letter saying it's only right that these letters go back to the memorial? You do believe that there's some politics at play here, some motivation?
Absolutely, absolutely. And let's face it, there are a lot of, Nehru letters are already published. Sonia Gandhi has herself edited, 2 volumes of it. They are there. Then the letters, they went to several other places. For instance, Edwina Mountbatten's daughter has written a book, and she has also referred to a lot of correspondence. So it's not that it is not there in the public domain. Obviously, government of the day knows there are certain letters exist, whether catalogue or not catalogued. I think that is very important, a very crucial aspect in terms of the legality of it or propriety of it. And they want to make a big issue because they know. I was just talking to someone who worked in this Jawaharlal Nehru Library, and he was telling me that even when Sonia Gandhi was not in so to say, in politics, an active politician, she was very protective about this, providing access to, Nehru or Indira Gandhi, letters, correspondence, and other archival material. So that is her style. She's always been, known for this. But whether she has committed anything wrong, because I remember she was heading a lot of this family, trust also at one point of time.
Yes. Rashid, I'd like to come to my lead story now. Okay, so the Edwina letters, the Nehru letters, we've spoken about, but the issue of the India alliance and what's happening there is wasn't just my lead story, but also the topic of a column of yours called India Bloc Totters as Congress Faces Isolation. And many of the points that you've raised in this column, I've also raised on my show today. That's the reason we've invited you on. So I wanted to start by asking you, you've seen Omar Abdullah taking a pretty candid pot shot on the EVM issue. You've seen Abhishek Banerjee also come out and talk about it. Like you say in your column, practically everyone is saying that there should be a leadership change and that Mamata Banerjee should come in. Is that going to happen? The Congress is the only one that hasn't said anything about this so far. Is there going to be a leadership change in the India alliance in your view?
If you're asking me change in leadership, no. You see, it is but Rahul Gandhi, he has asked all his senior party colleagues, everyone, not to react to whatever any India Alliance leader is saying. India Alliance, to my mind, is practically, it is over. Alliance in India are formed to, form a government. And when there is no government, the alliances, die down. India is surviving because it is getting, taste of power after every 5 years or so. LDF, UDF in Kerala are intact because there is always a sort of, quest for power, and until recently they were just, having alternative arrangements. After every 5 years, there will be change of government in Kerala. So what I'm saying is, this time, look, nobody's talking about what happened to UPA. Nobody talks about what happened to United Front, what happened to National Front, what happened to Janata Party. So these alliances die down their natural death once the aim for which they were formed, in this case, election 2024, then it just goes away. Because Arvind Kejriwal or Tejasvi or any other political party, why would they continue to accommodate the Congress? So therefore, it is a total, whether Congress likes it or not, it is a total vote of no confidence against the Congress leadership. Now, the problem is alliance politics in India tends to have a dominant partner, someone, who's a bigger party. You cannot have an alliance of co-equals. And this is the long and short of it, why India alliance is dying, if not already dead.
But it's, the incredible part about what you're saying, Rashid, is that, so much energy has gone into papering over the contradictions between the many parties that make up the India alliance. I'm just saying, politically speaking, it would be a pity to see it simply splinter after a few elections. Is there nothing else that can hold them together?
Nothing, absolutely nothing, because none of these allies want to empower Rahul Gandhi or the Congress to take a center stage in national politics. And Rahul Gandhi, let's face it, is a leader of opposition because of the Congress performance of 99 or the tally going up to 100 now. It's not because of any other parties, but he's leader of opposition. So I think in the heart of heart, leaders like Akhilesh Yadav, Mamata Banerjee, Arvind Kejriwal, Tejasvi, they resent that. They don't like Rahul being first among equals. So this is and it is, it is a sort of sad story from the opposition point of view, because they're not winning. So Delhi test is going to be Arvind Kejriwal's test. Bihar test is going to be Tejasvi's test. So they don't want to crown Rahul Gandhi and the Congress. So therefore you see this.
And it's very important, as Rashid points out in his column, that the next opportunity that the Congress has to prove its mettle is a couple of years from now in 2026 in Assam and then in Kerala. Until then, it's all the test of all the regional parties, the Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi, the RJD in Bihar and beyond. We leave it there for the moment. Rashid, thank you very much for joining us at short notice here on India Today. The continuing implosion of the India Alliance, and Rashid Kidwai, one of the most respected voices on these issues, sounding an ominous note there and says the India Alliance is over. We'll be watching that very, very closely.
Home Minister Shah's big pledge on Naxalism.
31 मार्च 2026 के पहले हम भारत को नक्सलवाद से मुक्त करा देंगे, ये मेरा विश्वास है।
Vows to end Naxalism by March 2026.
जो सरेंडर होते हैं उनका स्वागत, और अंतर को बदला जो दूसरे की जान लेते पर ही हमारा है, उनको सजा देने का काम भी नहीं करता।
Amit Shah meets former insurgents in Chhattisgarh.
आगे किसी को अपना परिचय न गंवाना पड़े, इसका एकमात्र रास्ता है तो नक्सलवाद को समाप्त करना।
Can centre put a halt to Naxal menace in India? That is our top focus on 5 Live.
Now, the Naxal menace may not be in the headlines every single day, but until about 10 to 15 years ago, it was called India's most serious and biggest internal security threat. It's something that has festered in the central part of India for over 50 years now, denying development to many parts of central India. The Home Minister Amit Shah now saying that by March 2026, Naxalism will be brought to an end is a hugely ambitious promise to make. Take a look.
31 मार्च 2026 के पहले हम भारत को नक्सलवाद से मुक्त करा देंगे, ये मेरा विश्वास है।
A pledge to end Naxalism within the next 14 months by March 2026. A huge promise by no less than India's Home Minister. He's talking about a left-wing menace that was once described as India's biggest internal security threat. Speaking at Agenda Aaj Tak on Saturday,
Shah provided a basis for his ambitious promise.
आज बिहार निकल गया है, झारखंड निकल गया है, उत्तर प्रदेश निकल गया है, मध्य प्रदेश निकल गया है, कमोबेश महाराष्ट्र भी निकल गया है, तेलंगाना निकल गया है, आंध्र प्रदेश निकल गया है, ओडिशा निकल गया है, छत्तीसगढ़ के 2 जिले बाकी है, वहां पर भी भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार आई है.
A day later, the Home Minister flew to Chhattisgarh's Jagdalpur, a hotbed of Naxalism, where he met a group of former Naxals who had surrendered and are now engaged with the security forces in anti-Naxal operations. Shah repeated his promise there.
जो सरेंडर होते हैं उनका स्वागत है, वो भी हमारे लिए हथियार छोड़कर मिलिट्री में आ जाते हैं तो अच्छा ही नहीं होते, उनको अरेस्ट करने का प्रयास करते हैं और अंतर तो बदवा जो दूसरे की जान लेते पर ही हमारा है, उनको सजा देने का काम भी किया.
Promising to end Naxalism is no small pledge, given the scale, spread and intensity of the Naxalite Maoist insurgency, which began in the 60s and has seen its most violent phase in the quarter century from 2000 till now. Since the turn of the millennium, across central India, 2,688 security personnel have been killed in action fighting Naxal groups. The period seeing 4,515 Naxal casualties and over 32,000 Naxals either surrendering or arrested. In the year gone by, security forces killed 287 Naxals, arrested 1,000 and witnessed 837 surrenders. For a menace that has stalled development in several districts of central India for half a century, are these really the last days of Naxalism in India? Bureau Report, India Today. March 2026 is 14 months away. That's hugely ambitious for the Home Minister of the country to make a promise at the Agenda Aaj Tak conclave to say that Naxalism is going to be completely wiped out. It's going to come to an end in just 14 months from now. But what do the experts believe? You've heard what the Home Minister has said. Let's get a real-world assessment by those who look into these matters very closely. Joining me live, Lieutenant General Syed Atta Hasnain. He's former General Officer Commanding of the 15 Corps, also a member of the National Disaster Management Authority and a commentator on these issues. Prakash Singh is former Director General of the Border Security Force, and Major General Dhruv C. Katoch is author of the book Naxal Violence, The Threat Within. He's also Director of the India Foundation. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being with me here on India Today. General Hasnain, I'd like to kick it off with you. 14 months seems like a terribly short period of time, but clearly progress has been made, even though the media doesn't report every single thing that's been happening as far as the Naxal menace is concerned. How does this seem to you, sir? Amit Shah saying by March 2026, Naxalism will be brought to an end.
Shiv, thank you, first of all, for having me on your program. A very important program, I must say. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't think the Home Minister is known to make any false promises. Yeah. For him to come up and give this statement, obviously the inputs and the parameters, the factors at work at the moment are all there which give him that confidence. And I think they generally do give confidence to a lot of us security analysts who are observing this situation. I would say from a high of about 250 districts out of the 750 districts of India, there's almost 1/3 of India which was under the shadow of so-called the Red Corridor, yes, or Naxal terrorism. You today have just in your program shown us how it has come down to 2 districts primarily of Chhattisgarh. Most of the other areas have been cleared. Now, it's a very important aspect that as you clear these areas, you also ensure a consolidation, because in this kind of a game, everything can come back very quickly.
Yes.
I can see that the government of India at the central government level has done a tremendous amount, but at the same time, it has decentralized it to the states. This entire campaign of the last couple of years has been fought by a lot of state police forces which have been professionalized to
Indeed.
a great extent. The central forces are there. The CRPF, BSF, ITBP have been there doing a great job. Intelligence has definitely been improved, and there has been an induction of technology in the last few years, in particular, bringing in drones, bringing in mobile devices, eavesdropping capabilities, etc.
Yes.
And to beat it all, the leadership, the targeting of the leadership, and also going after the youth in terms of social media activism, ensuring that the radical, it's not just the radicalism which is in Kashmir. There is a huge radical footprint here too. And that radicalism has to be countered over a period of time. This has been going on across the states. I would give a tremendous amount of credit to the state police forces and the state home administrations, which have, I think, achieved some outstanding results.
Okay, interesting. So you're saying that, you don't believe the Home Minister would have said it, without being very serious about that target. General Katoch, if I could bring you in, is this sounding realistic to you? It's been confined now to 2 districts in Chhattisgarh as per the Union Home Minister. Does March 2026 look like a credible deadline to you, sir, for ending the Naxal menace, as he put it?
Thank you, Shiv. Shiv, I personally, I'm not a believer in putting deadlines onto an issue, something like Naxalism. I remember way back in 1967, the then Chief Minister of West Bengal, he made this statement. He says, I have finished Naxalism from the state. And we know what happened for 50 years after that.
Yeah.
So, but there is a sense today that Naxalism is to a very great extent on the decline. And why I say this is because I have met many people who work on the ground with the Naxals, and they are desperately reaching out for an agreement. They want the center to come and say, listen, do something for us so that we can actually have some sort of an honorable exit from where we are. So that shows that as far as the ground is concerned, where the Naxals are located, there is a sense of despondency in those ranks that they are not going to win this battle.
Interesting.
So psychologically, I think the state has won because this is a very important aspect.
Yes.
The second aspect, I think, is, there has been a lot of pressure put on, General Asnin spoke about the people with the guns and all that. Very frankly, I haven't really given them much credence. The people who we need to really tackle are what has been referred to as urban Naxals.
Right.
These are the chaps who are sitting in the corridors in Delhi and other places who give oxygen to this movement, and they are funded from abroad also. I think a great deal has been done to curtail their activities.
Yeah.
And that is another positive sign.
Okay.
Thirdly, I think the most important thing which has taken place over the last decade, or in fact, I will say over the 2 decades, is a great deal of political penetration has taken place in these areas.
Important.
I have written in my book, this is one point that as and when political penetration takes place, Naxalism and such activities decline.
Okay.
Because now people have somebody to speak to, somebody who's answerable to them. And when there is no presence of the government there, these movements actually shape up.
Okay, very important.
So
you've painted a detailed picture of why you think Naxalism is on the decline, and you've also, presented an important point about how the Naxal groups may be looking for some kind of a dignified or an honorable exit. Will that happen in the next 14 months? Prakash Singh, how do you see this, sir? 14 months is the deadline. General Katoch says he is not very comfortable with deadlines, but yes, this is looking realistic.
See, I would like to recall that in 2010, Mr. Chidambaram also said that Naxalism would end in the country in another 2 years. That was the target which he set for himself.
Yes.
Although he was not very specific about the month, but he said within the next 2-3 years, Naxalism would be over. And 14 years down the line, we are still struggling with the problem. See, please remember that Naxal problem as we are having it has different components. There is a law and order aspect, there is a social aspect, there is an economic aspect, and there is some extent a political aspect also. Now, you are presently tackling the law and order manifestation of Naxalism. And you say that by eliminating the Naxals, you'll solve the problem. Now, eliminating the Naxals is not going to solve it may solve the problem of violence, but it will not solve the problem of Naxalism.
Right.
See, the ideology behind it, what gave it inspiration, what gave it motivation, what led, what has contributed to this 15 years long struggle. Those causes need to be understood, and unless those basic causes are eliminated or at least minimized, if not eliminated, we will not see the end of the problem. And please remember that twice before in the past, the government of India announced from the house top, the way Mr. Shah is doing today, that yes, Naxal problem is over. Once it was in 70s when the movement was fragmented following the death of Charu Mazumdar. And secondly, when in the late 90s when Kondapalli Sitaramaiah got killed.
Correct.
Then this people's war, they said people's war is finished and so Naxal problem is over. And yet in 2004, we found the movement resurrected and with greater vehemence.
Okay.
Now, please remember that the movement has had 2 revivals, and every revival was more violent, more widespread, and it was more lethal.
So that's an ominous point raised by Prakash Singh. General Hasnain, to bring you in on that. You know, revivals have happened twice in the past. This is not the first time that deadlines have been articulated in this manner. Do you believe that things are different this time, and that real forward movement has happened in such a way that things will ensure that there is no revival of the Naxal menace?
See, Shiv, I'm in one respect, Mr. Prakash Singh's views, General Katoch's views, hugely. But let me tell you, not as a counter, but as a different opinion, that what we are talking about 1967 and maybe 1980s and the 1990s is with the experience of counterinsurgency, counter-terrorism of those days. May I say that 40 years later, you have got much more experience. You know how to counter this. We have seen what's happened in Kashmir. We have seen what's happened in Punjab. We successfully countered that. Our overall education and awareness levels in the security forces and the national security system is that much more enhanced. And I think, therefore, the comprehensive approach which the government of India has been making in the last couple of years is something which was alien in those days to a great extent.
Okay.
In the sense, the aspect of winning hearts and minds, the politicization, the outreach, the availability of social media, the empowerment of youth, economic development, infrastructure development. Where did we hear of these things in those days? So today, I think when the Home Minister of India sits down and makes these statements, I don't think he's talking from the top of his head.
Okay.
He has obviously been briefed. Well, he knows it. He's aware. He's been the Home Minister of India for the better part of almost 6 years. And I think I tend to believe that there is great credibility in what he says.
General Katoch, would you concur with that there's a lower risk now maybe of a return to that same kind of situation than earlier? Or do you think the government still needs to tread with extra caution over the next 14 months since it has set this deadline for itself?
No, there is absolutely no doubts that the government has to tread with extreme caution.
Yeah.
But a resurgence, the way it used to take place earlier, I don't see it on the ground. It is not going to happen. Eliminating the problem completely, I think that is where the real challenge lies.
Yeah.
You know, ultimately, the villagers, they've got to say, okay, this is not the way we wanted. The social media, as General Hasnain said, has played a very great role because now people can actually, they are in touch with their administration.
Yes.
Earlier, there was no presence even of a police officer or a forest guard in those areas. And even if somebody was there, that chap was much more exploitative than otherwise. Today, that reach, the reach and the reach of the state has gone deep inside the villages, into the areas where it was never there. So that has made the difference, which is why it's going to be a difficult proposition for it to rise again. Ultimately, I think both the state and the center will have to work in very, very close coordination.
Correct.
Because things can go south.
Yeah.
I don't think they will, but they can. And should that happen, then it won't be as bad as it used to be earlier. But it may not lead to, getting a complete solution within a year or year and a half.
Okay.
But one thing I am certain, it is on the decline, and day by day it is declining further till a time will come and it will just disappear. So whether that's going to take place within 14 months from now, or maybe 20 months or 24 months, I can't say. But this decline, the decline of Naxalism is certain, and you will find the important thing is not what is happening in the villages.
Yes.
It is what is happening in Delhi. And you don't see that, that focus of these of the urban Naxals there now, which used to take place even a decade earlier. So to that extent, I think the signs are very positive. But Shiv, as I stated earlier, I personally will never give a time frame to a movement of this nature.
Okay, understood. And, thank you, gentlemen, for this very substantive look at what the Home Minister has said. I'm out of time, but I value your wisdom and words very much, because this is, as a former Prime Minister had called it, the gravest internal security threat. It's good to hear from people like you in the business that may not be very true anymore. And hopefully the end of it will be in sight, because let's remember that this is our land. Naxals are ultimately Indians. This is our territory, and it needs to be handled in a much more long-lasting, sustainable and different way. If March 2026 is what the Home Minister is saying, let's wish him well and let's hope it can be achieved. We'll be tracking every step of the way. Thank you very much for being with me. Remember, today is December the 16th. It's Vijay Divas. It is on this day that we celebrate India's incredible victory in the 1971 war. That historic win over Pakistan, the liberation of Bangladesh, and our tribute to the bravest of the brave, over 2,800 Indians who made the supreme sacrifice to birth a new country. Sam Bahadur and his men, we salute you. This Vijay Divas.